And I'm always of the mindset of like, let's show it to the most critical people first, like the people who are diehard book fans, because then you want to make sure that you're servicing the people who are most passionate about it. And Isabella at this point was still working at a restaurant in Brooklyn. Colleen called her and she was like, you gotta come to the screening. She's like, I can't get my shift covered. She's like, get on a plane, come now. And so she like left from the restaurant with like I don't know.
I didn't even make it to the restaurant that day.
The Taylor Swift and Blake Lively text messages are finally here, and they are so bad. And we haven't even gotten everything yet. It appears Taylor Swift was a lot more involved than she initially claimed, including the New York Times article.
The great unsealing has officially arrived, at least on Blake Lively's side, and this situation just exploded fast. Her exhibits are now front and center, being used to break down her case and directly clap back at the memorandum trying to shut the entire thing down through summary judgment. Here's where it gets wild. Blake didn't just submit a few papers, she filed nearly 300 documents, and they've now been unsealed for the public to see. People were expecting heavy blackouts everywhere, but that didn't happen. The only things hidden are phone numbers and in some cases, names. That's it. And before anyone asks, yes, Taylor Swift is mentioned. Yes, Ryan Reynolds is mentioned. And yes, there are text messages that show Blake talking messy behind the scenes. The documents reveal her exchanging shady messages with multiple people, including Colleen Hoover, Jenny Slate, and Taylor Swift. There are also texts where she crossed professional lines while messaging actor Brandon Sklar, and the tone-raised eyebrows for sure. Then there's the PGA letter, which honestly reads less like a formal document and more like straight-up fan fiction. Blake repeatedly pushed for credit on it, pushing hard behind the scenes, and even bragged about a gift she gave to Isabella Ferrer, making it clear she wanted recognition tied to it. What really stands out is the pattern. Throughout this entire process, Blake and Ryan were allegedly promising future opportunities, credits, and possible jobs to people involved with the film, seemingly to lock in loyalty and support. That part alone has people talking nonstop. But here's the part that makes zero sense. Blake and Justin reportedly got along just fine, even after she claimed there were issues between them. At the same time, she was sending messages trash-talking him to others while texting Justin directly, telling him how much she appreciated and loved him. That flip-flop energy is honestly wild. And one final detail buried in the filings really raised eyebrows. In an official statement of undisputed facts, it's noted that Blake commented on actors' physical appearances tied to the project, both before and after her demands. In one exchange from March 29th, she mentioned meeting an actor Sony liked, saying he was pretty. Later, while discussing marketing in May 2024, she messaged an adult younger male cast member joking that she was becoming pimp adjacent and told him to put on a short skirt and hit the corner. Yeah, that line definitely didn't land the way she may have thought. Snar, I'm becoming pimp adjacent. Put on a short little skirt and get on the corner, Snar. That exact line is now sitting right there in black and white, and yes, it's already causing chaos. Of course, Blake's side says it was just a joke. According to the undisputed facts, Lively made that comment to S. Skinner, a friend and co-worker who was 33 years old at the time, while talking about helping him get involved in certain press events. They're stressing that the message didn't comment on his physical appearance and was meant as humor, not anything more. But let's pause for a second. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine Justin saying something like that to Blake even as a joke. The internet would absolutely melt down, especially since Blake reportedly took serious offense when Justin once commented on her costume, calling it sexy or hot, which she didn't appreciate at all. The double standard here is loud. It doesn't stop there. Blake and Jenny Slate, another actor on the film, were also pulled into controversy over comments about another female celebrity's appearance while on set. In an undisputed text exchange, Blake recalled an incident to Slate, writing, "You said you used to stare at a celebrity's midsection for hours before you finished and said what an athlete she was and how remarkable she seemed as a young girl." She added that Baldoni jumped in saying, "Same," giggled, and then went quiet when everyone looked at him. That moment alone raised eyebrows across the board. And yes, if you're wondering whether Taylor Swift pops up here, she absolutely does, and more than once. On April 12th, 2023, Blake reached out to her longtime friend, the world-famous musician, asking for help. In those messages, she referred to Baldoni as the douche director of my movie and called him a clown who thinks he's a writer now. She then asked Swift to endorse a revised script, even without reading it. This is where things get messy. Taylor previously said she felt like she walked into an ambush and knew nothing about the situation. Blake disputes that, claiming she sent Taylor the script on her way to the apartment while Justin was still there, saying she didn't have to read it and didn't want her to feel pressured, but hoped she would. Taylor eventually agreed, texting Blake, "I'll do anything for you." The two later met with Baldoni at Blake's apartment, where Taylor endorsed the revised draft. Afterward, Blake followed up with another message to Taylor, sealing that moment into the record. "You were so epically heroic today. I recapped every moment to Ryan." That's how Blake followed up in a private message, and the tone only gets messier from there. She went on to joke about moments she made up, talked about lenses, and even referenced herself as his doll, laughing about how the situation played out. The message makes it pretty clear they thought the whole thing was funny and felt like they had outplayed him. What stands out is that Blake is openly acknowledging in writing that parts of the story told in that meeting weren't exactly real, and that they were laughing afterward about how easily it worked. That alone has people raising eyebrows all over the place. Now here's where the record gets confusing. Blake disputes that Swift officially agreed to do her bidding or formally endorsed the revised draft, saying that claim isn't supported by evidence. But then, just days later, on April 14th, Baldoni texts Blake saying he would have liked the rewrite with or without Ryan or Taylor involved. Blake allegedly explained that she was trying to protect herself, comparing it to a fantasy-style setup where Reynolds and Swift were her dragons. That comparison didn't go unnoticed.
Taylor Swift acknowledging that she's Blake Lively's dragon and that Blake Lively is Khaleesi, yes. These are text messages just dropped in the lawsuit, the ongoing lawsuit for It Ends With Us, Let's Go. Taylor Swift saying, "Wow, I love how they used the song. Welcome to Hollywood, Justin." Yeah, that's Taylor Swift saying that. And then Blake Lively goes, "I'm not okay. I can't breathe. I'm obsessed with you. I have never felt more like Khaleesi. I have dragons, except my dragons are bred with Cersei herself."
She then pushes back again, saying everyone benefits from her connections to Reynolds and Swift, adding, "and you will too." That line alone says a lot. And when it comes to Taylor's claim that she was ambushed at the penthouse, the details don't quite line up. This wasn't a quick hello. Her own PR tried to downplay it, saying she just said hi, but the messages suggest it was way more involved than that. Things get even heavier when Baldoni raises concerns about how personal experiences were discussed, specifically around situations involving lack of consent. He objected to how those topics were framed, feeling they crossed a line. In later messages, Blake compared his comments to an article where he had previously spoken publicly about being a victim himself. She disputes this comparison, but admits she shared that article with Swift. What complicates everything further is later testimony suggesting Baldoni disclosed deeply personal experiences during an April 2023 car ride. Accounts describe him talking about situations where boundaries weren't respected on both sides, which directly conflicts with statements from Blake's security team. That contradiction is now sitting at the center of this entire dispute. Yeah. We'll see if that actually holds up, because this next part ties directly into the trailer situation involving Taylor Swift, and things get very interesting fast. According to the filings, during the weeks that followed, Blake allegedly made extensive edits to the film's trailer and poster. Blake disputes that claim, saying it's argumentative and not backed by solid evidence. The documents point to text messages where Blake discusses edits with Greenstein and separately asks Taylor Swift to watch the trailer. But here's the catch. None of those texts actually prove that Blake personally edited or directed major changes to the trailer or poster. Still, while she was actively trying to secure creative control and push for her preferred cut of the film, she was telling a very different story behind closed doors. In messages sent to her Hollywood circle, Blake didn't hold back at all. She told several famous friends that she rewrote the script and directed every actor herself. And yes, the celebrity list is wild. She made these claims to people like Matt Damon, Luciana Damon, and Ben Affleck. She also openly trashed Baldoni in those same conversations, even describing him to Ben Affleck as a chaotic clown. That line alone turned heads. One text to Ben Affleck straight up says she rewrote and restructured the entire script and ended up directing the movie, blaming what she called a chaotic director, actor, producer, financier, and studio head all rolled into one. That doesn't exactly read like someone describing workplace mistreatment. It reads more like personal dislike and a power struggle. What's important here is that Blake does not dispute sending those messages. She fully acknowledges saying those things. There's no denial there at all. She also urged Colleen Hoover and other A-list friends, including Bradley Cooper and Taylor Swift, to back her version of the film over Baldoni's. And on April 26, 2024, messages between Blake and Taylor show them discussing a plan to use Taylor's song in the trailer. Taylor even texted that if Justin were being strategic, he would say no to using her music because it would give Blake more control over the film. Blake replied, "You are so right. He should have run from your music." That exchange alone says everything about how calculated this whole situation had become. What really jumps out here is how this whole exchange makes it sound like his so-called strategy was his only shot at looking like he had any control at all. The messages read like two women breaking down how Blake could secure the trailer her way, while quietly mocking the fact that he didn't play his cards right. The irony is wild. He wanted to use Taylor Swift's music, and Blake was the one pushing Taylor's songs non-stop from the start. Taylor even flat out tells Blake that her friendship gives Blake more power over the film because Taylor is her ally. That alone flips the entire public narrative on its head. And this completely contradicts everything Taylor has said publicly, which honestly explains a lot. This is likely why Taylor hasn't come out to defend Blake or deny anything on her behalf. Her silence has always been loud, and now it's starting to make sense. Then things take another unexpected turn when the Vanz situation enters the picture, and once again, Taylor somehow ends up connected. According to filings, around August 2024, Stephanie Jones, a former publicist, and Blake connected through a mutual acquaintance to share information Jones had allegedly found on Abel's personal phone. This comes directly from Blake's deposition, parts of which have surfaced, though not in full yet. What's especially interesting is that Taylor appears in these communications too. In one message, Taylor allegedly tells Blake that this PR chick wanted to get information to her. It's undisputed that in August 2024, Blake was approached by Ashley Nan, who claimed that Jones had access to a phone containing what she described as some of the most disturbing messages she had seen in her entire career. Blake was told she deserved to see what had been done to her. Now here's where it gets complicated. Blake is the president and 50% owner, alongside Ryan Reynolds, of a company called Vanz. The company reportedly has no external operations and no other owners or officers. Personal expenses were allegedly paid through it. So how did Taylor already know that Stephanie Jones wanted to pass information to Blake? That question alone raises eyebrows. The filing suggests that Jones may have been reviewing that phone while still under contractual obligations, including a non-disclosure agreement. Blake disputes wrongdoing here, but the timeline is messy. On September 27, 2024, Vanz, acting under Blake's direction, filed a lawsuit in New York State court alleging that 10 unidentified defendants breached contracts in a coordinated effort to harm Vanz's reputation. What's undisputed is that the lawsuit was filed. What people are questioning is why it was done this way. The defendants were listed as unknown, even though Blake personally knew everyone involved in the film. That detail has sparked serious questions about why all of this was kept hidden in the first place. Now, this part gets extremely technical, but it's important, so stay with me. Vanz suddenly produced a witness, a lawyer with no prior relationship to the company, who claimed that any information Vanz had about the contractors named in the complaint was somehow privileged. That claim is disputed, and the evidence cited doesn't actually back it up at all. Here's where the timing gets interesting. Around October 1st, 2024, Vanz took advantage of New York rules that allow discovery before defendants are even formally named. Since no defendants had been identified yet, no one could step in and challenge the process. Using that window, Vanz served a subpoena on Jones Works, asking for documents tied to alleged misconduct or retaliation connected to the film, along with marketing, publicity, and PR materials. That request alone raised eyebrows, because Vanz wasn't even a party to the film, and it gets stranger. The original complaint never mentioned the movie, never mentioned Jones Works, and Vanz had no contract with them. There were also no prior communications between Vanz and Jones Works before the subpoena was served. All of that is undisputed. What really stands out is how Blake was suddenly put in touch with the right people at the right time. Once again, Taylor Swift somehow appears in the background. According to the filings, Taylor knew that Stephanie Jones was about to release a wave of damaging information. And somehow, Vanz knew exactly where to look and what to ask for. That timing doesn't feel accidental. This is another reason why Taylor's public silence has been so noticeable. It's also alleged that Taylor sent Blake a message ahead of a major New York Times article and helped her prepare. That detail alone adds a whole new layer to this situation. Then comes the most explosive part. On December 4th and 5th, Blake and Taylor allegedly discussed the upcoming article privately. In one quoted message, Taylor wrote, "I think this boy knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin." That language is now officially part of the record, and yes, it shocked a lot of people. Blake disputes that the two discussed the article during those dates. However, what's not disputed is that the quoted message appears exactly as written in the cited source. That's a big distinction. Critics are asking a serious question here. Does that text sound like someone fearful or acting as a victim? Or does it sound like two people confident that something big is about to drop? And it's worth noting, many people say they've never seen Taylor Swift speak about anyone like that before. Now imagine if Justin Baldoni had sent a message using that same language. The reaction would have been immediate and brutal. Instead, this text has quietly sat in the filings, adding yet another contradiction to the public story that's been told so far. I'm reading parts of this in real time, and honestly, it's hitting hard. Seeing Taylor Swift's messages and the way Blake and Taylor talk behind the scenes is shocking, especially when you compare it to their public image. I want to be very clear here. This isn't exaggeration. My stomach actually dropped reading this, and it still feels heavy. These are people who publicly present themselves as caring, supportive, and aligned with their fans. But privately, the messages show something very different. Taylor wasn't being dragged into anything against her will. She was actively helping Blake figure out how to use her influence and connections to gain leverage. That part is hard to ignore. So when Taylor later says she felt used, that doesn't fully line up with what's written. She willingly participated. She backed Blake, repeated her claims, and even went along with misleading Baldoni during meetings. She joined in on mocking him privately and helped coordinate the rollout of an article with the New York Times where he was spoken about in an extremely disrespectful way. That kind of tone doesn't come across as fear or concern. It reads more like contempt. It feels like someone who believed they were justified and untouchable, not someone who felt threatened. And that distinction matters. Now, it also makes more sense why Taylor's name has come up in past conversations around power dynamics and accusations of pushing people behind the scenes. We still haven't seen the full message history yet. More exhibits are expected to be filed, and Wayfair still has time to submit theirs. That means more context is coming. It looks like Blake rushed to file first, so her version of events would be out there early. This is likely the evidence most favorable to her. And even with that advantage, the messages still raise serious questions. That alone says a lot. What's especially interesting is how Blake later referenced Taylor directly in her PGA letter. She didn't just mention her casually, she used Taylor's advice as leverage. Remember the whole conversation about music being power? Blake leaned into that hard. In her letter, she wrote that she personally secured Taylor Swift's song for the trailer and marketing, claiming it helped create the largest debut for a film-led trailer of all time. That line ties everything together: influence, strategy, power, and control. None of this feels accidental anymore. Wild. Honestly, just wild. Taylor Swift clearly knew exactly how much power she held, and she knew her support alone could help Blake lock this film down. That's the part that keeps looping in my head. If Taylor is a billionaire, why not just make their own project? Why not have Ryan Reynolds, Blake, and Taylor build something from scratch together? The answer feels obvious. This book was already a massive hit. The IP was gold, and they knew it. They weren't starting from zero, and they were stepping into something that already had built-in success. That's what makes all of this feel so calculated. In that same PGA letter, right after name-dropping Taylor, Blake also brings up Bradley Cooper. She writes about wishing she had received credit earlier so she could have applied properly right away. She says precedent matters, and then explains how Bradley gave her a pep talk and encouraged her to push for recognition, even telling her she could mention his name. She brings up his experience on Nightmare Alley, explaining that he was hired as an actor but ended up producing extensively. Just a month before release, he received a producer credit after filing a last-minute PGA request with crew support, and it was approved. Blake says she's hoping for the same outcome here. Then the tone shifts. Blake leans hard into her identity as a woman in the industry. She writes about being in the business for 20 years, being a mother of 3 daughters, and says she's pushing for acknowledgement because it matters for women right now. She frames it as bigger than herself. She says she earned the credit 50 times over, and that being denied doesn't just hurt her, but all women who are told there are already too many female producers. She says women do the work anyway, fight harder to be seen, and that every fight clears the path for the next woman. That language is powerful, but also strategic. What's hard to ignore is how closely this mirrors the Bradley Cooper example. It almost sounds like hijacking creative control first and asking for credit later became the blueprint. And when you connect that to Taylor advising Blake to use her as leverage, it starts to feel like a classic power move gone too far. This whole thing reads like influence stacking, name dropping, and pushing authority until it snaps. The allyship angle doesn't feel organic anymore. It feels tactical, and I still can't shake the thought that this strategy flew way too close to the sun. Seeing Taylor Swift refer to a man she had only met once using language like "this biao" is honestly shocking, especially when you connect it to everything else. Her helping Blake with Vanz, helping behind the scenes with the New York Times, and being involved long before there were even serious disputes on the table. What really stands out is this. Not a single one of those texts focuses on harassment. None of them. The messages are all about strategy, leverage, and helping Blake gain more control. Taylor was involved early before things escalated publicly, and that detail keeps sticking with me. I honestly think the reason Taylor has stayed silent isn't loyalty, it's discomfort. Deep down, she may realize that Blake's claims against Justin Baldoni don't fully add up. When someone can joke on set about pimping someone out or telling an adult coworker to wear a skirt and stand on the corner, but then react strongly to 2 wardrobe comments being called sexy, the double standard is impossible to ignore. That contrast hurts. It genuinely does. Reading these messages made my heart drop because the tone behind the scenes doesn't match the image we're shown publicly. And honestly, these are only some of the texts. I still want to see the full exchanges because what we've already seen is bad enough. And now I want to hear from you. How does this make you feel? Do you think Taylor's silence says more than any statement ever could? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really going on, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who's following this story, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an upload, and I'll see you in the next one.